Hello, I am Kimberly Volker. I'm the Hospital Staffing Policy Analyst responsible for overseeing our investigation processes. OHA's Hospital Staffing Complaint System is how Oregon's hospital staffing law, including the updates in the 2023 House Bill 2697, gets enforced in Oregon. This short video provides key definitions that describe which complaints can be investigated and which investigated complaints include proven noncompliance. OHA can only investigate valid complaints. Valid complaints are ones that are submitted within 60 days of the underlying incident, and the complaint has to contain allegations that, if true, would constitute a violation of a provision listed in Oregon Revised Statute 441.792, subsection 2 or subsection 3. The hospital staffing law includes several requirements, but the only ones OHA can investigate and enforce are listed in Oregon Revised Statute 441.792, subsection 2 and subsection 3. Valid is a term that does not reflect whether a complaint has been proven. It doesn't mean that OHA has determined whether a violation occurred. A complaint is valid for investigation, which means OHA can do an investigation of that complaint under the hospital staffing law. OHA cannot investigate invalid complaints. If OHA cannot determine from the information submitted whether a complaint is valid, OHA staff may request additional information. If the complainant fails to respond to a request for additional information, or if the response does not provide sufficient information to determine whether the complaint is valid, we may end up closing that complaint as invalid. Additionally, an invalid complaint may be one that is submitted more than 60 days after the underlying incident occurred. Substantiated is a term that only gets used after an investigation has occurred. A substantiated complaint is one in which OHA investigated a valid complaint allegation, and as a result of the investigation, OHA determined that one or more violations of the hospital staffing law occurred. This means that the allegation was proven during the course of that hospital staffing investigation. An example of a substantiated complaint is one in which OHA receives a valid complaint that the hospital unit did not have a nurse staffing plan. Because the complaint is valid, OHA does an investigation of the complaint, and during the course of the investigation determined that the hospital nurse staffing committee had not approved a nurse staffing plan for that unit, and no plan was adopted through arbitration. Because the allegation was that there was no approved plan, and the investigation found that there was no plan, the complaint was substantiated. Similarly, if the valid complaint alleges that the hospital did not follow the nurse staffing plan requirements for the staffing levels on a specified shift, and the investigation establishes that the staffing on that shift indeed did not comply with the plan requirements, that allegation would be substantiated. The complaint would be substantiated. A hospital may only be sanctioned for substantiated complaints. Similarly, unsubstantiated is a term that only gets used after an investigation has occurred. That means an unsubstantiated complaint is one that OHA determined was valid for investigation, and during the course of that investigation, OHA was unable to prove that a violation of the hospital staffing law occurred. OHA will not take any enforcement action on unsubstantiated complaints. An example of an unsubstantiated complaint is one in which OHA received a valid allegation that a hospital unit did not have a nurse staffing plan. OHA investigated the valid allegation and determined that the hospital nurse staffing committee had approved the nurse staffing plan for the unit. Because the complaint alleged that there was no plan, and the investigation found that the plan had been approved by the staffing committee, the complaint would be unsubstantiated. Thank you for watching this short. You can find additional hospital staffing shorts on the OHA hospital staffing website, which is www.substantiated.org. healthoregon.org/hospital staffing. You can also find other resources such as staffing plans that have been submitted to our website, investigation reports, and other resources. If you have any questions, you are welcome to contact the hospital staffing team at mailbox.nursestaffing@oha.oregon.gov.